presentation, and we have started recording. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Jason of Kageko and Associates. I take this opportunity to welcome you to this training. Today, we are going to look at two functions which are very important in advanced Excel and especially for accountants. And these are logical formulas and pivot tables. So logical formulas help us to make decisions in Excel. And we are going to see a few logical formulas. We are going to look at the if function, the add function, the all function, and such. Then we are going to look at pivot tables. Pivot table is arguably the most powerful tool that we have in Excel. So depending to who you are talking to, because you are able to analyze thousands and thousands of rows and columns of data at a click of a button. So I'm going to show you how you can analyze your data in pivot tables in a moment. So unless somebody has any question, has any issue, we can start our class. So let me get a thumbs up, or you can unmute yourself and say, we are good to go.
We are good to go.
We are good to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. So I hope you have this file open. For those who are joining us today, the first thing that we do before we even start working on our data or tables, we understand the data. So here we are looking at employees' data. So we have the name of an employee, the building they are working in, the department, the status, full-time, half-time, or hourly, when they were hired, the number of years they have worked for us, the benefits, and then the salary. So now on column J, you have the job rating. The job rating, for those of you who are conversant with performance management, you have had things like KPIs, KRAs, balance scorecard, 360 degrees. These are evaluation methods that are used to evaluate the performance of various staff in an organization. And after that, a job rating is given. So depending on your performance, you are given a job rating of 1, 4, 5, 1 to 5. And for this purpose, a job rating of 1 is better than a job rating of 5. A guy who has gotten a job rating of 5 is a guy you want to separate with. A guy who has gotten a job rating of 1 is a guy you want to promote. So I hope that is clear. So let's go and dive in the if function. So again, for those who are old timers in this class, you'll forgive me because I'll keep on repeating the tenet because I know there are people who have just joined us and they are missing some of this foundational experience of using Excel. So for every function, there is a syntax. A syntax is how that function is written. And for the if function, the syntax is equals if you put the function, the if function. So you start with the logical test. What are you testing? These are things like is something bigger than the other? Is it equal to? And such. So, for example, you want to know whether this salary is bigger than 50,000. And if this is bigger than 50,000, you need to tell Excel what to do in terms of the value. For example, if we want to test this is bigger than 50,000, we type 50,000 there. Then we tell the function, the value to be returned if this value is bigger than 50,000. For example, we can say earning too much. So I want to post there and say that for you to put anything that is text in Excel, you have to put it within double quotes. So any text that you type in Excel in a function, you have to put it within double speech marks. So for Excel to be able to understand it. So that is very important, but we look at that in detail when we are looking at text function, of course, in a later training. So the third argument here is value if false. You can type something like good to go, and then double speech marks, and then you enter. Control enter. So if you can copy this down, you will be able to see how that if function works. So again, the if function starts with an equal sign. Then the if function, the first thing that you need to put in, I want to put this in a sentence. What are we evaluating? What are we evaluating? What to return? What to return if value is true? And what to return if value is false? So those are the three arguments for an if function. So the first one asks us, what are we testing? Do we want to test if this person is working full status? Do we want to test the department? Do we want to test the building? What exactly do we want to test? Then the second argument is value if true. If whatever we are testing is true, what do we want to be returned? And the third argument is value if false. What do we return if the value is false? So I'm going to pause at this moment, and let me get any questions that you would have. Maybe I'm going too fast, so let me understand if everyone understands after that moment. Anyone?
I think we are clear up to that point.
You're clear?
Yes.
Great. Anyone else? I just want to be sure that I'm not leaving anyone.
I think we can proceed.
Thanks, Albert. Good. So that is the if function. So I can delete this information and get back to our data. So for example, assume the HR has done a job evaluation, and then he wants to give a bonus to anyone who has a job rating of let's say less than 2. That is, anyone who has a job rating of 1 or 2 will get a bonus. So how do we do that evaluation? Remember, our data is big, and therefore we cannot do it manually. So we have 742 staff, and therefore it will take you a lot of time for you to be able to put for each manually. So you need to deploy an if function for you to be able to fill up the bonus. So we want to evaluate whether this job rating is a 1 or a 2. So equals if the logical test, we want to test this, whether it's less than or equal to a 2. Sorry, we want to test whether it's a 1 or a 2. So here we can say that the number we want to know is less than 3. So if it's a 1 or a 2, then this function will return a true, meaning that the number that we are evaluating is less than 3. So comma. So what do we want to do if the value is true? As you have guessed, we want to give this person a bonus. Remember, I said every text has to be within double speech marks in Excel for it to understand. Then if the person has a job rating of 3, 4, or 5, then this person will not get a bonus. No bonus. Control Enter. Remember to autofill this, you go to the lower right corner of the cell that is active, then you double click and it will fill up to the end. So then you have also to check whether Excel is working correctly. So anyone who has a 2 or a 1 is getting a bonus. Anybody who has a 3, 4, or 5 job rating is not getting a bonus. So any question, guys? Am I moving too fast?
No, we are good.
Thanks, Zuberi. Thanks, Purity.
We are good. Good.
Thanks, James. Good.
So far, so good.
Thank you, thank you. So up to there, we have made a decision. We have made that decision that the staff who have a job rating of 1 or 2 are getting a bonus. So now I want us to go to something more complicated. So now you want to only give a bonus to those guys who have a job rating of 1, 2, or 3. And you want also to check whether these people are either full-time or half-time. If they are full-time, you give them a bonus. If they are half-time or hourly or contract, they don't get a bonus. So here we are adding 3 to those people who are going to get a bonus, but also they have to meet the criteria that they are working on full-time for them to get bonus. So here we are going to evaluate job rating of 3 and full-time. Job rating of 3 and full-time. So equals, and I want you to notice from that sentence the word and, because we are going to look at it in a very short while. So remember that word and. So equals if, so what are we testing? We are testing whether this job rating is less than 4. So it's a logical function. So here you need to think of what we are you're looking at, and make a decision what kind of evaluation you're looking at. And the most important thing in this logical test argument is that it needs to return a true or a false. So whatever you are putting in that argument needs to return a true or a false. For example, equals. If you want to know whether this number is equal to 1, you can say equals 1. If it's a 1, it will return a true. If it's any other number or text, it will return false. So for example, that will return false. So whatever evaluation you put in the first argument in an if function has to test some logic, and it has to return a true or a false. Equals if tab, the logical test, if this number is less than 4, because we are looking for 1, 2, and 3. So it's less than 4. If it is less than 4, we also want to test if this status is equal to full-time. Remember, this is text, and it needs to be within double speech marks, full-time. And therefore, if remember, we tested whether this value is less than 4. So if it's less than 4, test if this value, the status is full-time. So when you find that the value is less than 4 and this person is working full-time, then you give a bonus. So bonus. If the value is false, the value can be false if this number is less than 4 and this person is working any other status than full-time. And don't worry, I'll explain this further. So here we say no bonus. For those who attended yesterday's class, I told you that you don't sweat the small stuff. You don't need to put the closing bracket. But here I need to give a disclaimer, because we are doing an if function within an if function. You need to put the closing bracket. Remember, this is one if function. This is one if function. And this if function is working and a value if true of the first if function. So we need to put the second argument for the first if function, which is value if false. And as you have guessed, if this is not true and this is not true, then there will be no bonus. So no bonus. No bonus. Then control, enter. So anyone who has a bonus is somebody who has a status of full-time and their job rating is either 1, 2, or 3. And we can check that downward. So job rating of 1, that passes. Job rate, the status is full-time. Then here we have a job rating of 2, and then full-time. There are some people with a 1 here, but then there's no bonus because they don't pass the criteria of them working at a status of full-time. So let me know, guys, if there is any question up to that point. This is called a nested if. Hi, Daniel.
Try to.
So any specific question you have up to that point? Hi, Martin.
Hi, Jason. I'm good.
Karibu sana.
So far, so good.
From the
Asante
forest.
nashukuru.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm in the forest and enjoying it.
Sa karibu sana.
Asante.
So any specific question? Karibu Victor. Good. So before we proceed, I would want us to do another evaluation. For example, if we want to give a bonus to somebody who has worked for more than 10 years and they are working in the ADC department. So here I'll insert another column and say ADC and more than 10 years. So equals if, so what are we testing first? We are testing whether they are working in the ADC department. So this, if this cell is equal to double speech mark ADC, comma, the value if true, we want to test if this person has worked for more than 10 years. If. So we put another if, and the logical test here is this number greater than 10? Then if the first one is an ADC and the second one, this person has worked for more than 10 years, then we are going to give a bonus. And if any of these is not true, then there will be no bonus. Double speech mark, never forget that. That text in Excel functions has to be within double speech marks. So no bonus. Then you cross that if function and then you put the value for if these two are not true, then what happens? So no bonus. And then control enter. So here we are checking if somebody is working in ADC department and whether they have worked for us for more than 10 years. And if these two are true, then we give them a bonus. So for this case, we have somebody who has worked for 21 years and they are working in the ADC department. And as you can see, it's only these four guys who have a probability of getting a bonus, and the rest of the people, because they don't work in ADC, are getting no bonus. But even for those who are working in ADC department, if you have worked for less than 10 years, then you are getting less than, you're getting no bonus. So again, I come back to you and let me know if there are any specific questions.
I would want to see the text, the formula. I finished writing.
me know when you're done seeing the formula.
Done.
Thank you. Any particular question, James?
No.
Thank you. Any other question? So who can tell us where we can apply the if function, a practical case for an accountant? Who, in your imagination, where can we use this?
I can try.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, for me, I'll be able to use it maybe in the case of the end of the year,
Okay.
after the job rating.
Yes.
After the job rating,
Yes.
whether an employee is entitled to get a bonus or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a text from Victor saying in taxation, whether taxable or not. Remember that scenario that we have that the tax bars have been reduced for people earning, I believe, less than 24,000. So you can imagine you want to tell if somebody somebody's salary is below 24,000 or higher than 24,000, such a scenario. So any other trial before we can go ahead?
Can try.
Yes, please, Albert.
Like the issue of Kenya Power, like
Yes.
the issue of Kenya Power or water utilities.
Yes.
When an employee goes and brings the reading, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
you compare the previous and the current.
Yes.
If it is less than 0, or if
Yes.
it is a negative, then
Yes.
it is a reread.
Yes.
It is a reread, right?
Okay.
Then for an individual, if it is more than 100 units, then
Yes.
it brings an error. It should
Yes.
be a reread. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Remember here, like those people who do reporting, variance analysis, you want to know those outlier figures. And I'm taking this from where Albert has left it. For example, if you have, I'm looking at bills, like telephone bills in the office, and you want to compare what somebody used in terms of the telephone bill previous month versus the current month, and you want to know which particular person has increased their usage, and you want maybe to consult this person and ask them why they have exceeded the previous use, or you want to notice these figures so that you can work on them for whatever reason. And I have some comments from Bensberg Mogo. He says a teacher can use this to grade students. Thank you so much. So you want to know who is a B+, who is a C+, and such. Who has a fair kind of a rating, who has an excellent type of a rating. Purity Murage in debt correction when you want to review credit terms based on whether they honor the current terms or not. Thank you so much, Purity, for taking us to debt correction or account receivables. James Kanguru says, when you want to know if the system has deducted withholding tax correctly. Great. I think we are all following. So the good news is that you don't have to put an if function, a nested if function. For example, sometimes you might have like 3 decisions to make. So it becomes very complicated. So for example, if you want to test if this, and then now you add another evaluation. So you want to test this and full-time. So you want to test if the person you want to give a bonus is working in ADC department, has worked for us for 10 years, and is a full-time employee. So it will become very complicated to use an if function, and I want to demonstrate that to you in a moment. So equals, if the first thing that we want to test, if that person is working in ADC department, and ADC, the departments are here. So if this is equal to ADC, double speech mark, ADC, comma, then you want to test if that person is full-time, if tab equals, and the word full-time, then comma. You need now, again, to test if that person has worked for more than 10 years. So you put another if function. If this is more or greater than 10, then only if all those are true, then you give a bonus. Then you close the bracket for that if function, and then now you go to value if false. Sorry. Let me go back so that you can see the whole formula. So we started with the if function, and we tested whether the department is ADC. Then if it's ADC, we test whether this person is working on full-time. So if it's full-time, we also test whether this person has worked for more than 10 years, and only that we give a bonus. And if they have not worked for more than 10 years, then no bonus. And I need to copy that because I use it to cross all the other functions. So no bonus. So I'm done with that if function. See what happens when I put the bracket. It will tell me the corresponding bracket for whatever if function. So if you're very attentive, you'll see this bracket becoming bold when I put the last bracket. So it tells me that I've completed that function, and now I need to complete this function, and I need to put the value if false. So no bonus, Control V, and then I put the bracket. Again, the red bracket will grow or become more bold once I put the bracket, and then I need to put the value if false for the last if function, which is this if function. So Control V, and then this bracket I don't need to put it because Excel will put it for me. Control Enter. Enter. So as you can see, very few people are getting a bonus, because what we are saying is that those three criteria have to be met. The person has to work full-time, has to be in ADC department, has to work in ADC department, and that person has to work full-time contract, and they have to have worked for more than 10 years. So as you had guessed, only these guys have a chance in the first evaluation to get a bonus, but then there are a few who don't qualify. Like this guy, he doesn't qualify because here he works for 9 years, and then our next guy here, he doesn't qualify because he works hourly, and also he worked for less than 10 years. So again, I get back to you. Any particular questions? Any particular questions?
Mwalimu, would you mind doing a quick recap of the same? Just a quick one again.
Okay.
Take us through that formula again, please. Yes.
Good. I'll make this a bit bigger so that we can see our formula. So what we said is that the first thing that we need to test, we are testing if, sorry, let me get to the beginning. So our decision is that anybody who is working in ADC department has worked for us for more than 10 years and is full-time, gets a bonus. If you miss in any of these criteria, like for example, you have worked for less than 10 years and you work in ADC and you're full-time, you're not going to get a bonus. So what we are testing here is equals if the department is ADC. So you need to go to the cell where you have ADC or the department. So this is equal to double speech marks, ADC, double speech marks, comma, so if somebody is working in ADC department, what will be the value if true? The value if true is you need to test again for the second criteria, whether they meet the second criteria. And the second criteria is whether this person is working full-time. So you need to test whether this value is equal to full-time. Remember, for text functions, if you type and you forget to put the space, it will give you an error. So be very careful. Or even if you put a space here or 2 spaces, or you misspell the word, then it will give you a wrong evaluation. So the third thing that we are testing is if this person has worked for more than 10 years. So we're checking if this value is greater than 10. And then what it means, remember we already tested that if this person works in ADC department. Now we are testing whether this person is working full-time, and the last variation there is whether they are working for more than 10 years. If all the criteria is met, then what would be the value if true? As you have guessed, is that we need to give this person a bonus. Then if not, then there will be no bonus. And remember, for any evaluations that are nested functions, if you have a nested function, any function that is within the original function, you have to put the closing brackets. So value false, no bonus, comma, sorry, need to put the bracket for that, and then comma, value false, like that. Then cross that, then end. So again, it gives us the same answer there. But remember, I was demonstrating this to help us to go to our next topic. So don't sweat the small stuff. Excel has a better way of doing this, depending on the decision that you want to make. So let me know if Martin, you good to go? Good. It will take a bit of practice, so don't be frustrated at this point. Keep on practicing, and then you'll get better in it. Purity, say something.
Hello.
Hi,
Okay.
Purity.
Hi, just to appreciate. Thank you. You're catching up. With practice, we'll be able to get it better. But for now, I'm good to go.
Thank you. So that is the if function, and it's very important. I don't think there is any accountant who doesn't need to know how to use the if function. So now I want you to introduce you to a function that makes that decision to be very, very easy to make. And remember, I told you to remember the word "and" in that sentence, in this sentence. So when you have a decision to make and you want to test whether 3 criteria or more, 2 or more criteria are met, and you want it to return true if all the criteria are met, then there is a function called the add function. So for example, here, we are testing whether somebody is working in ADC department, is a full-time employee, and then whether they have worked for more than 10 years. So if you want to test several criteria and you want all of them to be met for you to return a certain result, then there you use an add function. So the way the word is, or the literal meaning of the word, it means that we are testing if all arguments are true, or if all evaluations are met. So we want to know if somebody is ADC full-time and they have worked for more than 10 years. So you use the AND function. So the AND function, you tab it. So the logical evaluation, the first logical evaluation is whether this is ADC equals double speech marks ADC. Then comma, we put the second evaluation, whether this is equal to full-time. And then the third evaluation is whether this person has worked for more than 10 years. So before that is met, Control Enter. So the add function will return a true or a false. And remember, sorry, I need to mute someone, Mujid. Sorry, I have to mute you. It's background noise. Yeah. So remember, I told you that the first argument in an if function is the evaluation. So this is an evaluation, the logical test. So the logical test consumes a true or a false. If you put anything else here that doesn't return a true or a false, then the if function will not work. So for example, if we do F9, function F9, it will show us the result of the formula. So again, we can select that part and do function F9 and so forth and so forth. function F9. So the if function consumes truths and falses. So remember here, we have used the AND function to check whether all conditions are met. If any of these conditions is not met, the AND function will return a false. And that is what is happening here. So for example, if you can check, this guy is a half-time. It's true he's working in ADC department, but then also he doesn't meet the criteria because he has worked for less than 10 years. And therefore, the if function gives us a false. So then we can use that true or false in an if function and then tell the if function what to return. So I write my if function here equals if tab. If this is true, then value is true is bonus, double speech mark, bonus. If the value is not true, control V, no bonus. Then control enter. So as you can see, whenever we have a false, then there will be no bonus. And you would have done that evaluation by putting your add function here. So I'll repeat and put the AND function. And so the evaluations we are testing is whether the person is working in ADC equals double speech marks ADC, double speech marks, comma. We want to test if they are full-time equals double speech marks full-time. And then the last evaluation we want to make here is whether they have worked for more than 10 years, greater than 10, and then the closing bracket. And then we already have what to be returned if value is true and what to be returned if value is false. Then control enter. So similarly, you'll see that the bonus is only given where we have a true. So let me know if people are following. Don't get frustrated. In my experience, in my class, this is one of the areas that I spend a lot of time. So if you're feeling like you're being left behind, it's only a matter of practice. You need to practice to use the function, depending on the data that you have. So let me have particular questions that you may have. Those who are using text, please tunataka kuwasikia. Tunataka kusikia sauti zenu. Sauti za Easter. So resist from typing. Just unmute yourself, say something, and then you mute yourself.
So I have a question.
Yes, please.
Can you do an if function when you want to get a range of a certain dates? You're working with dates.
Yes.
Like between January 2018 to June 2018. You want our period of maybe 6 months. How do I go about if I'm using an if function?
Yeah, I'm going to demonstrate that in a moment. Somebody else? Any other question? Oh boy. So there is no question. So time allowing, very fast. Thank you so much, James. In our class for date functions, we look at how dates work. So James, I want you to drive, so I want you to unmute yourself and you tell me exactly which dates you want us to test.
Maybe between 1st June 2019 to December.
Okay, 1st June 06
01.
01 2020.
Yes.
And then?
Okay, you are starting from maybe January to June. That's the range you want to know if a certain date falls between that range.
Okay, so we have that particular date and we have today's date.
Yes.
Actually, we can make this date a May date. Remember my date in the American version, yours might be starting with the date, then the month and such. So depending on how your computer is configured, you need to check here to see how your dates are. So very fast, each and every date in Excel or in a computer is a serial number. If I format this to general format, you'll see that. So the first date in Excel, Control Shift 3, the first date in Excel is 1st of January, the year 1900. So that is the first date in Excel. So Control Shift tilde, you format that as general, and so forth and so forth. So today's date, like today, if I format this to general, is the 43,000th date after after 1st of January 1900. So if you understand that, then what does it mean? It means for you to do an evaluation, you are doing an evaluation like to say whether this number is greater than this number, and so forth and so forth. So for example, if you want to test equals if, the logical test is whether, sorry, let me put it next to this, equals if this date, you said your date is what?
Okay, May 20, I'll see May 2020, past May 2020.
No, we were testing whether it's less than June, eh?
Oh yeah, we are saying whether that date falls between January
and
today's date in May. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see the date there.
Yeah, so you want to test if that date is less than, and this is how you write date. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. We are going to have a class for date. So what year are we looking at is the year 2020. The month is the 6th month, and then the first day of that month. And you close that bracket. So 2020, 6/1, good. So we are testing if this number is less than June the 1st. And then we also want to test whether if this number is greater than or equal to this number is n2 is greater than or equal to date. That's how you write date within a function. 2020 month 1, date 1, then you close your bracket. So if all that is true, then you say maybe current, and then you can say not current. Then control enter. So as you can see, your date has, it falls within the bracket and it's current. Why is this one Oh, this is April, sorry. So we can put a date like December. So we have the first if function, value if true, then we test not current. So just a moment. So here we are testing if our date falls within, is less than June. So if it's true, we test whether it's greater than, yeah. So the reason as to why we are getting a false is because we forgot to put the last argument here, value if false, and then enter. So that's the reason as to why we are getting that. So James, have I answered your question, please?
Yes, you have.
So any other question, team? So similarly, we have an all function. All function tests whether one of the criteria have been met. And if one of the criteria has been met, then it returns a true. If all the criteria have not been met, that's the only time an all function will return a false. And that that I would challenge you to evaluate it at your own free time. You can put as many as 45 arguments within an and or an or function in Excel, and you can make as many decisions as possible. In my career spanning for 11 years as an accountant, I've severally used the if function. So I believe in your career journey, at one single point, you'll need to use an if function. So I can see the time is going, but I don't want to let you go without showing you how to use pivot tables. So let's go to pivot tables unless anyone has a question. So I'll give you a few minutes to download the pivot tables file, and then we can start. Say good. Good, I believe everyone is here. So, do you remember that thing that we used to play with when we were young in school? That one person used to sit on one side, and then we would put something at the center, and then we start swinging. Where I come from, we used to call that a seesaw. I'm trying to describe a seesaw, and whatever is put at the center is called a fulcrum. If you're talking to somebody who has done physics, but if you're talking to a person, a normal person, they'll tell you that that item is called a pivot. Sorry, I have to mute someone. So the same way, when we have data, we want to pivot our data. I'm using this word to define a pivot. I know in English that is not a valid way of defining a word, but you'll be lost for once when you want to describe what is a pivot. But literally, you want to see your data are based on a particular data set or a particular title or something. So, for example, the data we are having here, we are having sales of a particular company. So you have the salesperson, you have the product, you have the region, you have the customer, you have the date, you have the item that was sold, the number of items they sold, and the total cost. So this data, if you do control A, might not have control A. If you do control A, you are able to select all your data. So once you select your data, you can do control period. Period is full stop. If you do control period, you are able to see the corners of all your data. So as you can see, we have 913 rows in this data. So it's a lot of data. And if somebody asks you a question about this data, for example, which region has the highest number of sales? It might take you months trying to sort this data or trying to look through this data, which region has the highest sales. It might take you quite some time. So you use a pivot to pivot your data around the region. So in short, a pivot is used to evaluate your data given a certain parameter. So whatever you want to see your data. And the good thing about pivot is that you can change your mind at a click of a button, and your data set or how you want to your data set to be seen changes automatically. So for example, in that example that I've given, you want to see which region has the highest sales. So again, you might want to see what sales were sold, what sales were made in a particular month, which salesperson has the greatest number of sales in a certain region. Again, somebody might want to see what is the highest sales we have ever made in a particular day or a particular for a particular product. So all these are questions we would want to know, or information we would want to dig from our data. And unless we deploy a pivot table, it might take us quite a lot of time to try to figure that. Of course, there is the sum ifs, the average if, the count ifs, and all those logical functions that you can use, but they are tiresome. So a pivot table comes in handy to be able to evaluate your data. And what it does is that it pivots data given a certain data set. And for you to be able to use a pivot table, you have to have contiguous data. Contiguous data means that there are no gaps. If you look at my data, there are no gaps, because you don't want to have data that a pivot table with a line called blank. So you have to make sure that your data is contiguous. For example, if there were no items that were sold, you put a 0. If you didn't have any sale, you put a 0. If for particular reason there was a sale that was made outside any of your areas of jurisdiction as a company, then you can write not applicable or something. So you have to have contiguous data. And your data, it's a must. It has to have titles. It has to have titles, because these are the fields that you are going to pivot your data on, these column titles. So let's make our first pivot table. And the first thing that you do is to select your data, Control A. Once you do Control A, pivot table is one of those things that we insert in Excel. So insert, then pivot table. And then the first thing that you need to do is to select a table or a range, which we have already done. And then you want to state where you want your pivot table to go. So click inside there and then choose a location for your pivot table. So I want my pivot table to come here and then click OK. Good. So I have my pivot table here. Just a moment, let me delete this. Control minus. Click inside my pivot so that I can be able to see my information nicely and neat. So depending on what we want, for example, we want to know which region has the highest sales. So we can click the region and see what happens. We have a list of all the regions. And then what do we want to know is the sales that were made in that region. So we pick did I select sales? Sorry, let me change my data set, change data source. Yeah, I'm wondering why I'm not getting this one, sales. So allow me a moment. So this is our sales. Let me try to change, refresh this. Yeah, and now my sales appear there. So I want to know my sales by region. So I click that, and then now I have sales by region. Control Shift 1 to format this as the sum of sales. Now, remember, we have almost 1,000 rows of data. How long did it take us to come up with this list? Just 2 clicks of buttons and then we are here. So up to that point, I want to take any questions before we do more on pivot tables. Did we understand what is a pivot table?
Yes, we did. I did.
Thank you, Purity. Somebody else?
I also did. Thank you.
Thank
Quite
you, Purity.
interesting.
Remember to unmute yourself once you finish speaking. Anyone else? So I want one of you to tell us what is a pivot table in your own words. Somebody to give it a try. Someone. You said you understood, so I want to hear it from you, how you understood what is a pivot. Yeah, James?
I would say
Yes.
it's a table that summarizes bulk data
Okay.
based on a defined area.
Great, great. I like that. So summarizes data given a certain field. So for example, here we are summarizing our data on regions. So we want to know the total sales per region. So anyone else? Purity, it cannot be that bad. So
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay.
it's thinking, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. So let's go back to pivot if there is no question. So again, for example, if somebody asks you, what is the who is our highest salesperson, who moves the highest sales volume in our company? So you just come here and change from region to salesperson, and voila, you already have a list of the sales people and what they have sold. So here you would say, this is the highest guy, Von Haron. And as you can see, it's so fast. This you don't have to have prepared your pivot table. You can just prepare it as you present your report on the go by just clicking buttons here and there. For example, also, if somebody asks you, which month did we sell the highest? If, for example, you want to summarize your data by the date. So which month, which particular month did we sell the highest? So you just change the salesperson and then you click on date. So as you can see, our data transverses 2 years, that is 2011 and 2012. And within 2011 and 2012, there are months. So you just click on the plus sign, and then here now it's presented in quarters and so forth and so forth. If you don't want your data to appear like that, then you can click and remove the years, you can remove the quarters, and then you put the date. So now here you have your data summarized in months. So also, sometimes these fields are not automatic. You just click and it goes to the right field. So the field here, whatever you put in this field, I can remove this and this. Whatever you put in this field will make the rows. So it will make your rows in your pivot. Whatever you put here has to be a value. Has to be a value. For example, says you can put any field. You can even put customers. But the only thing that you can do with customers is that you can only count them. You cannot have total customers. You can only say you are counting the number of individual customers whom we were able to sell in a particular region. So whatever you put there, mostly you'll find that it's a figure or a number. And then if you want to summarize your data, for example, in this case, you want to know the sales by region, by year. So you can get the date and put it here. So your data will be summarized by region and by year. So in 2011, Northeast region, we sold 562,000. 2012, 388, and the total sales for those 2 years in Northeast region are those. And then in 2011, we were able to make sales of 1.4. Still, you can analyze your data further by using filters. So for example, if you want to filter all this data by salesperson, you can move the salesperson data field to the filter section. And then once you do that, it gives you this filter button. Sorry, where did it go? Think we are. Sorry, it's disappeared. Yeah. Let me see. The reason is because we have another pivot here. I can delete that part and then say that we want to filter our data by salesperson. So the salesperson filter comes here. And now by doing that, you can be able to select each particular salesperson and see the data for that particular person by region, by year. So this salesperson moved sales worth 84,000 in the year 2011 in the Southeast region. So most probably the salespersons are located different sales region, and that is why we can only see data for this particular person. And you can select several of them. So depending on how you want to see your data, you can be able to filter it by that. So any questions? Any questions on pivot?
Hello, could you repeat the last part where you say you added the upper part on salesperson?
Okay.
I got lost.
Okay. I'll repeat that. Anyone else?
Hey,
Yes, please.
could you show us if you're doing maybe different years, how
Yes.
you can drill down to a particular date,
Okay.
beyond month?
Okay.
Also, my pivot, if I check on my end, I don't have the quarter and the year. I don't know how that came about on your end and mine. No?
Okay. I'll show you that in a moment. And I think it's the same thing Pauline is asking. So the first question that Purity raised is how I came up with the sales person. So I'm going to remove all my data, removing everything. So I just want to repeat. So now the first thing that I wanted is to know the region. I wanted to know the total sales per region, and then I wanted to know by date, and this date is a year, so I move my years here. As you can see, it went to the wrong place, and I was able to take it to the right field here. So now we want to know, already we have a table showing us the sales by region, by year, but now we want to drill down further to this information by the salesperson. So we want to filter by salesperson, so we move that field there, and then this filter appears up here. And we can filter by all. We click that, we'll be able to see all our data. But if we want to see by a particular salesperson, then we can click a few salespersons, and we can see their data. So I hope, Purity, I answered your question. Can say a yes before I can demonstrate.
Yes.
Good. Now I want to demonstrate to you how to drill down on the dates. So let's take out our information, and I want somebody to tell me how they want to see this data. Someone, please tell us what information you want to run from this data.
I would like to see the dates and sales.
Okay, so you mean sales by date?
Yes.
Please don't go, you're driving. So sales by date. So because this is a number field, automatically it goes to the various section. So then the date. I know you're having a challenge that your field is only showing maybe your field is only showing maybe all the dates, like first, second, the way they are written here. So depending on how you want to see your data, there is always a function. Once you click on that field, then you can do field settings. So here we want to see a list of the dates. So that's okay. But then when you select a particular data, then you can go to analyze, and then here you can expand field or collapse field. So for example, if I want to expand this field, I can expand it by months. Similarly, I can also go back and expand this field by days. So where is so let me move this so that I only have months, then analyze, expand. Okay. This you do by ungrouping. When you ungroup, you are now able to see your data by each particular date, and you can go back there and collapse field. Oh, sorry, ungroup. Analyze, ungroup. Anyway, if it doesn't work, you just remove that, put it back, and then work backwards. Ungroup, analyze, ungroup, and it comes to date. If you are in this scenario and you want to get a better field, you can group this field by months, by years, by days, by hours, by minutes, and seconds. And this is driven by what kind of data you have. So, for example, if you want to analyze your data by months and quarters, you select the two and you click OK, and your data will be presented like that. So again, you click in your pivot table and then analyze, group, and group for the date fields, depending on what you want. So I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah, you have answered the question, though I would like to know whether it's possible if, for example, I'm running a data from last year to this year and I only want to expand January 2020 alone, not
Yes.
all the year, not all the months.
Okay. So, for example, you want to expand this particular one?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. In any field in a pivot chart, you are able to get an extract of that particular field. And what you do is you just double click the total figure for that particular area. So which figure do you want to drill down, for example, in this case?
Pick me.
Yeah, I'm asking, you told me that you want to see, for example, data only for a particular year. So we can go back to years. So let me remove the quotas. Let me take back our date here. So we can analyze these group field by years. So now I want to expand these to months. Group and I want to present this in months. So I'm waiting for your instructions on how you want to analyze the data. For example, do you want to analyze the data for only a particular year?
Yeah, for example, January 2012.
January 2012.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take it out. Let's get our data in years, analyze, group selection. So here we want the years and months. So January 2012, this.
Yes.
So you just double click here and it will create you a table for January 2012. So as you can see, these dates are only for January 2012. And you have your data here, expanded. And that applies for all the data fields that you have here. So if you want to drill down and see what is the makeup of each and every figure, you can double click that and it will create a sheet for you for that particular month. And the good thing about this, it's a table. So you can filter the information by a particular data field. For example, customer BB spaces. What did we sell to them in the month of January? Which region did the sales come from? What was the product? Who was the salesperson? And how much did we push in terms of volume to that particular customer? So I don't know whether pouring that answers your question.
Yes.
Yes.
And I don't know whether I'm taking a lot of time, but now when we drill down that January 2012, it is giving us like line by line. What if I just want to see on first the consolidated figure, on second the consolidated figure up to 31st, instead of seeing one by one?
Okay. So you want to expand this particular date?
Yeah, and then it gives me like the consolidated for 1st of January, consolidated for 2nd of January, rather than seeing five entries for 1st of January. I just see the consolidated figure for that day.
Okay. So the only way you can do that is to do a filter. So, for example, you can move your date here and filter with it. So we need to go up here and select the particular date that you want to see data for. So you can either filter that by a particular date, for example, 01, 01, 03, 11. Sorry, let me expand this data. So you can come here and do a filter for the particular date that you want. And then that's the only way I can imagine you can get your data. I don't know. You can come here and say date filters. For example, if you want equal to equals, and you put that particular date. So equals date 01. This we are looking at 2011, comma, month is January 01, and the date is 03. And remove this. Sorry. Let me see that year, month, day. So here we want to sort by date filters equals. So for whichever date, for example, you remember the example our Fred gave us. I know you can do this by yourself. So equals date, or we can just pick the particular date that we want. So I need to go to 2011. So it's a range. So if, for example, you want to take is between, for example, you want the data for January, you can take, let's say, September. So you can have the date fields. I can copy these 9 30th 2011. Okay, so you only see that data for that particular month. I don't know whether that answers your question.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
I get it.
thank you.
Thank you.
So anybody else who has a question on pivot tables? So there's so much you can do with pivot tables. You need to learn on how to manipulate your pivot tables. We have run on how to group. At your free time, you can look at how to do slicers, but very fast, I'll show you how to do a pivot chart. You can do a pivot chart without doing a pivot table. So for example, if we want to analyze this data and we want to do a pivot chart, when you go to insert, you can insert a pivot chart. So this is a pivot table. We have a pivot chart here. So if you want only a pivot chart, you click on that. Where do you want your chart to go on the existing worksheet? Select a cell and click OK. So that gives us a chart here. So for example, we want to know the sales by salesperson. So total cost. So it will create for us a graph there of sales by salesperson. And you can change that. So you can say by region, by product. So all this, and it's very fast and it works brilliantly. So it's very powerful tool in Excel. So any question on how to insert a pivot chart? It's as simple as that. You just only need to practice. Practice, practice, practice makes perfect. So any question, guys? Hi, Andy. So I think with that, we come to the end of our class. If there is no any question. Purity, you have something?
No, it's clear. Just needs practice playing around with the different ways of analysis, but
Yes.
it's clear.
Okay. Thank you.
Also the and if practice.
Yes, yes, yes. So let's have our final comments and then we can call it across. Yep. So let's have our final comments. You can unmute yourself, say something, then we close the class. Esther Wanjiko, thank you so much. Quite productive. Martin.
Hello. Yes, Mwalimu. I really appreciate the pivot tables. I've always used them, but I never knew there was a section for further analysis, especially the breaking down into months and dates. That's a big plus for me today. Thank you.
Karibu sana.
First is to appreciate and say thanks. I've learned, especially on the issue of the dates range. You know the issue of doing the KRA stuff and you want to get an invoice between 6 months.
Yes.
That's what I had that. I wanted to know, so I'm really appreciative. Thanks.
Okay.
Yes, I can say it's a big plus for me. Thank you so much for the sacrifice and having us here. It is not just taken for granted. I really appreciate.
Karibu sana.
having been in the last class and this one, I think I keep looking forward to these classes much more. It's an opportunity to learn, and really it's a sacrifice on your part, but also information shared is really wonderful.
Okay.
It helps us build our skills and improve our knowledge, but also we get to know how to be more efficient
Okay.
in our work, because you can imagine 913 rows of data
Yeah.
to analyze, keep going one by one, sorting highest to lowest, lowest to highest, and such like things doesn't help.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you really, and I look forward to the next class.
Karibu sana. Anyone else? So Ian Mugita,
Thank you so much.
Really grateful for the class. Sorry, let me read this. Daniel, Yurgo. Let me read the messages. We have Esther Wanjiko, thank you so much, quite productive. Eva Nyawera, thanks so much. The session was quite educative. This is my friend Minas Consoran. Thank you, Mwarimu. This was a good refresher. Ian Mugita, really grateful for the class. Mwarimu, thanks a lot. I'm just smiling, people calling me Mwarimu. I've never expected people to call me Mwarimu. Yeah, I've always thought I'm a cheater rather than a teacher. Anyway, that's a lesson for another day. But I really appreciate. Any other comments? Daniel, you're on the floor.
I will still call you Mwalimu.
Thank you. I appreciate.
Thank you so much for the lesson. At least I've learned something new today that I didn't know.
Yes.
And I'll put into practice so that I can be able to do more and more.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to more of the classes. Thank you so much.
Karibu sana. No one else?
Yeah, I also want to thank you so much. It was quite informative, somehow magic. I really appreciate. Although I have missed the last bit of pivot chat. I don't know how I was logged out, but
Yeah.
I'll catch up on that. But generally, I do appreciate so much. God bless you.
Asante sana. We are going to send this video, so don't worry. It should be wrong, but if you want the information, it's worth watching it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Anyone else want to say something as I read the messages? They are coming furious, fast and furious. Kamodo Gatia, thanks a lot, Mwarimu. I have picked a lot of learning. Victor Wamukota, thanks, learned a lot. Kindly share the Excel template for practice purpose. The templates that I have used were on the invite. I know some people missed the invite, and I'll send the files to you. Omide Caxton, thanks sana Mwalimu. I feel I have grown in this accounting career during this COVID-19. Looking forward to the next class. So we have 22 guys. Say something, people. Albert, my friend.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Say something.
Well, today I've learned a lot.
Yes.
It means that Excel is very wide. I don't know if we can be able to complete.
We will keep on exploring it. We cannot finish it. I can tell you, even myself, there are things I keep on learning. Yeah, so this is a long way process, but the best thing that we have done, we have started the journey.
Yeah, thank you very much. At
Karibu.
least I'll be able to execute what you've told us, what you've taught us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And fortunately, I'm not able to commit suicide because
Yep.
Things are now getting better.
Yet.
Because I used to deal with a lot of data
Yes.
that are, need analysis, the variances,
Yeah.
And yeah, I used to download from the computer. I print, then I start to entering into Excel. But now I can be able to use the what you taught us yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Karibu sana. Amina Achieng.
Purity here. One thing you don't realize, which is an unintended outcome, is I keep picking your shortcuts.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Which one did you hear?
Control Shift 3, Control Shift. So I keep picking them just to be able to increase speed and efficiency.
Yes, you need to do that. I try to mention them as I go by. I didn't know that there was anybody who was taking attention or paying attention to what I was saying. So for formatting, like what you have said, you have those keys below the function keys. So you have that thing that goes like this. It's called a tilde. So if you press Control Shift, that tilde gives you general formatting. 1 gives you number formatting. 2 gives you let me try that. 2 is time. 2, I believe, is time. So Control Shift. Let me put a date 1 here. Control Shift 2. 2 is time. 3 is date. 4 is currency. 5 is percentage. 6 is exponential. 7 up to the rest don't work. So yeah. So thank you so much, Purity. Anyone else who has something to say?
You're welcome.
So Amina Achieng, tunataka kusikia sauti yako.
I appreciate everything. I really enjoyed the session, though I joined late. So I'm looking forward to
Karibu
the
sana.
next one.
Okay, Danny and Mayo.
I had spoken, but I'll thank you once again. Looking forward to the next class.
Okay, Eddie Omodi. Eddie, say something. Okay, Eddie, you are muted. Esther. Eva Nyavera. Remember to unmute yourself. Ian Mugita. Ian, you can say something. Sophia, you can say something.
Yes, I just want to say thank you because today's class, it was very informative.
Okay.
And I guess all of us want to be effective. So I think this is a good start. Thanks for so much.
Karibu sana. So we have messages from Ominda Caxton. I think I had read that one. Mwangi Zuberi Iza. That's very informative. Daniel Mayo spoke. So who do we have here? If you have not spoken, Jerida, tell us something. By the way, yeah, go.
Thanks once again to the class.
Karibu sana.
Though I've been having issues today with my internet, it has been on and off, but I'm trying to follow.
Okay, karibu sana.
Yes.
Pole kwa
Asante.
yeah. Safaricom has a new CEO. Kamodo Gatia, Martin Ngede. You guys have not said.
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. As for me, I can say this is my first session, and I've really appreciated, especially the part that part to do with pivot tables, because I
Okay.
normally deal with customers' data and in terms of sales. So I appreciate and thank you, and I would like to be in the next session. Thank you.
Karibu sana. We hope God protects us from this corona thing. So I believe we'll be here next weekend. So you guys have a happy Easter. Most of you, I know you're not working tomorrow. So have a happy Easter. Have a blessed week that is coming. So let's keep on practicing Excel. The journey has started. Don't stop. Excel is like driving. If you don't keep on practicing, you don't become better. So you need to keep on practicing every day and keep on improving yourself. There are so many materials on YouTube, on internet that you can train yourself on. What I'm just doing, I'm just telling you, hey guys, this can be done in Excel. So the onus is on you to put whatever I've taught you in practice and evaluate Excel, its power, and all that. Another thing that I want to say for those who are using our premium payroll, we are going to make changes to your payrolls, but we need you to send us your copies of the payroll so that we can make the new changes in terms of the tax changes that have been implemented. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you spending time here with me. If I was alone, I couldn't have done this class alone. You make me happy. I get a lot of satisfaction from this. So asanteni sana. Mungu awabariki. Have a nice time. And this time I want to be the last person here. So nataka kuwafukuza. So nataka kuona kila mtu ameenda. Yesterday the session recorded itself until the third hour, and it was too long and it took me time to edit it. So this one I don't want to edit. So kila mtu, nataka kuona kila mtu ametoka ili we can add our recording. Kwaherini.
Kwaheri.
Bye.